Okay, so we've started Psycho Raiders. The first thing that happened since I'm doing a solo game, instead of rolling to see which townsfolk are evil or good, I'm gonna try to randomize that somehow. And I think I might attempt something like when they first come into contact with townsfolk, I'm gonna roll the one dice and then make a decision of how many townsfolk are gonna be rolled for. So let's say I rolled a 2, then the first 2 townsfolk that my campers come in contact with, I'm going to do a random roll to see if they're good or bad. And if they're bad, they're going to turn bad immediately. I'm not going to have the ability to kind of surprise them with that. I'm going to just try to randomize it still somehow so it's a surprise. I still want to have that element of me thinking that the campers can get away. So then we rolled for the events table, and that was with 2 dice. I'm using the red dice as my 10s and the white dice as my single digits. I think we rolled a 51 is what it was, and it was an event that didn't have anything to do with us being in the pickup truck, because we started all in the pickup truck back here, so nothing happened. There was no weather condition, so it still stays clear, which means that there's no rain, fog, or wind, and there's no effect. So there's nothing to worry about for that. So then what did I decide to do? The vehicles have 3 speeds. As I was saying in the previous video, I got part of that wrong. The highest speed for the pickup truck is 9, and the safe speed is 4, and that last number there, 3, is the off-road speed. So as soon as they move off-road, you have to state what speed you're going to be in the first part of your turn before you start moving. And if you're going to move on the road and then go off-road, you have to state the off-road speed, so you can only move a maximum of 3, even if 2 of those are on the road before you go off-road. You can't say that you're going to do your maximum of 9, and when you get to 7 all of a sudden go 8, 9, 10, do your 3. You can't split up the movement like that. Once you've said that you're going to do your highest speed at 9, you have to stay on the road, which means going to these lightning bolts, which are the dangerous turns. And luckily enough, on the first dangerous turn, believe it or not, I got a 1, and the second dangerous turn, which is where we ended up, I got a 2, and that ended my movement. 1 and 2 means that nothing happened. It just says cars there, but I'm taking that to mean the pickup trucks and everything too, because the other table is for the van, which is what the Psycho Raiders are in. They did their movement, came in contact with that first dangerous turn, and actually rolled a 6, which meant that they had to travel off-road 2 hexes, which was 1 here, 2 there. Let me also say this. When I was traveling in the vehicle with my campers, I did have the option to do the full vehicle movement, then decide if I want to keep the campers with the vehicle, or I could move them away from the vehicle and they could start running through the bush. In hindsight, I should have had them do that. At the time, I decided I wanted to keep, since I got so lucky with those, I'm going to see maybe I can gain a bit of ground with doing a safe movement ahead of 3 hexes before they run out and try to gain some speed away. So they stayed in their truck, but I did have the option to have them start to run. The Raiders, once you travel off-road, that's the end of your turn, so they don't have the option of now jumping out of their van and attacking the truck, which is good for me because it does give me that little bit of a head start to kind of hightail it away from these crazy fuckers. That's what's happened so far. So now we've had a camper's turn, and now we've had a Psycho Raider's turn. I now start the camper's turn again. Every time you start a new turn, you do a roll to see if there's going to be an event. The only time that it's automatic is right at the beginning of the game. You automatically roll for an event. Now every time I make a move with my pickup truck or campers, before I do their move, I have to roll for an event. And how you do that is you just roll one dice. If it's a 5 or a 6, you roll both to see what the event is. If it's anything else, there's no event for that particular step of it, and then I can start moving. So as I said, that's going to be my plan. I think I'm going to try to do a safe movement up ahead, doing a safe movement means I don't have to roll for these treacherous turns. That means I can just proceed through them at a calm pace safely, and then make a run for it so I can start to gain some ground. For the van, it's just gone off-road, so I can still drive it because it does have an off-road speed of 4, which would gain me some ground, and then the Psycho Raiders, I guess, could jump out as well and do their movements. We'll see what happens with their turn. Yeah, so I'm going to continue. I'll be back. Our truck did a safe move to 1, 2, 3, and then everybody jumped the fuck out of the truck and started to run away. So Randy ended up here, Dawn ended up over here, and Ginger ended up over here. And as you can see, you can tell what happened. Our truck, or our van, sorry, that has a speed of 4 off-road had ended up over here. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody had jumped out. I should say we rolled for events for 1, 2, 3, 4 for the camper's turn. Let's go back to the camper's turn. We did roll for events. We had 3 that were unsuccessful, 1 that was successful, and I can't remember what the event was. Let me see. Let me just read, because it was actually something. Yeah, it was number 53, which says a mysterious vaporous woman moves across the grassland. All raiders gain +1 strength this turn. And that was very important, as you'll see in a moment. So for example, the character Bo already has a strength of 6. For this one turn, it'll be 7. 7 here for Spud, 7 here for Fluke, and 6 here for Torch. So that's what happened there with the one event. Also, Ginger decided to do a search for weapons, because there is a pile here that is outdoors, so you can just do a weapons search, and lucky her, she rolled a 6, so she found 2 weapons, which turned out to be 2 sticks. With the outdoor weapons so far, it says once you've used them, you discard them, which I'll talk about again in a minute. They add 1 to your strength if you're in the same hex as your attacker. So the van rumbled over to here. Everybody jumped out and started attacking. The stacking rules are that only 2 people can be on a hex at the same time. So I just had somebody come around and flank on this side. If I would have thought about it a little more, I would have ended him up right here. If I could. Actually, I probably would have ended up right there, because he does have a weapon that he could use if you're 1 hex away. Then we could have attacked her twice. But I kind of, it's tough playing these kind of things on your own, because I still kind of want to escape to some degree, you know what I mean? So then we had a big battle phase, and it was a fucking near slaughter. Randy came out of it okay. He stayed with his speed at 4. I had made a mistake and crossed it out when that was incorrect. And his strength came down to 3 from 5. So what happens with that? So let's use Randy as an example. Randy was this character here, whose name is Torch. Torch has a flamethrower and a machete. I used the machete, which was adding 3 to his strength. His strength this turn was 6, plus 3 is 9, plus a dice roll. You add all those numbers together. Randy here had the tire iron, which gave him an addition of 2 to his strength. So you add his strength of 5, plus the 2 is 7, plus a dice roll. Whoever's higher is the winner. The difference between the two numbers is what you subtract from either speed. You can subtract it all from speed, from it all from strength, or a bit of both. With all of the attacks, I had to go from a bit of both. Now, when you're being attacked, you cannot use Will to Live to re-roll your dice. You can only use Will to Live to re-roll an attack roll. And when you do, you can only do that once. But if you're being attacked, you can use as many Will to Lives as you want. So basically you can divide the attacks for 3 columns. So what did I have? So I had 2 plus 3, so I had 5 that I had to subtract. I just subtracted them from these 2 columns and left my speed as it was. I figured I wanted to have a full run at it still, so I could kind of run somewhere, maybe gain a bit of ground. I don't know, maybe that was foolish, but that's what I chose to do. So that's where Randy sits. Dawn did horribly. She ended up going to 1 in each. She just really got butchered. So she's at a 1 across the board. Ginger did pretty well, considering all she had was a stick to defend herself with. She's still at a speed of 4, dropped down 1. A strength of 4, dropped down 1. I took most of her hits off of her Will to Live. I figured I'd give her 1 still to go. But Ginger might have a shot at this, which brings me back to this. She used one of the sticks. It doesn't matter which one, we'll just choose this one. Once you use the outdoor weapons, they go back to the outdoor pile. I don't know what they say on the weapons for the other buildings, but they I think you get to keep most of them, but we'll find out. I'm pretty sure it's just with the outdoor stuff that you have to, that it's kind of a one use before you have to throw it away. What was the other thing that happened? I swear there was one other thing that happened. Somebody had to go down 1? I don't remember. There was something else that occurred. Oh, that's what it was. Rolled a natural 1, so I can't remember who was getting attacked. Maybe it was Randy, I don't know. When it came down to their die roll, they rolled a 1. You still add it to your total strength, but then you have to roll another dice to see what happens, and I ended up rolling a 5, which was damage roll nearby ally, and the double stars mean any allies in hex or line of sight. If no allies, nothing. So the closest ally, unfortunately, was Dawn. So my damage roll made her do a -1 from something, which is why you see the 6 crossed out to a 5 before it went to the 1. So that was kind of her problem. A line of sight is an interesting thing too. If there's a player here on this side of the trees and a player on this side of the trees, obviously the trees obstruct that view, so they are not in line of sight. Same with if you're on opposite sides of a building. Any sort of obstacles in front of you is going to affect your line of sight. But because we were just kind of on the grass and at a road, there was nothing obstructing the line of sight. Now it does say any allies in hex or line of sight. If no allies, nothing. But when it says the number 5, it says damage roll nearby ally singular as opposed to the plural. So I just had the effect on one of my allies as opposed to both of them. She was closer, so she unfortunately took the hit. So that's where we are. We're in a little bit of a panicked state as these guys are on us. What am I going to do my next turn? I have no idea, because the raiders are stockpiled with weapons, so I don't think that it's in my best interest to kind of stand and fight even with my one reroll. They are going to be back to their regular strength now, which I should cross this out so I don't get confused about that. Get rid of their +1 so I don't end up adding it again. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I could probably, maybe I could scream for help. I'd have to read how that would play out. I do have my special actions. +5 adrenaline, add up to 5 stats to either speed or strength or combo until end of turn. Maybe give somebody an extra boost to run away and maybe try to get to the gas station to see if there's any weapons. Maybe that's an option. I could try the hide feature. There's somebody close to the trees here. I can just run her. I think that's Ginger. I could run Ginger right into the trees and try this hide, although I don't know how I would randomize that being a solo game. There's a 2-weapon attack where you can add the strength of 2 weapons into one attack sequence. Could always have somebody do another search on the ground, maybe Ginger again to pick up another stick or whatever's going to be on that next card to combine both of those. Dodge attack. After a combat is resolved, declare dodge to narrowly miss it. I guess I could have used that for Ginger in hindsight, and then she could have had nothing happen to her, so she could have been at full stats. So there you go, there you have it. Either way, I'm going to be rolling for the events. I'm gonna roll, I don't know how I'll take care of that, but I'll be back and we'll see what happens to our helpless campers. Okay, so what happened? We just did the camper's turn, and what's his name? Randy decided, fuck it, I'm getting the hell out of here. Randy has a speed of 4, so he went 1, 2, and then 3, 4 because he's in the treed area. Trees are 2 space, they count as 2 movement points each. They are also H and F, which means that H is their spaces that they're able to hide in, and F are spaces that can be ignited by fire. I'm not using flamethrower on this particular game. It's suggested that for your first time playing you don't use it, so I'm not using it. Before he moved though, he decided to try to pick up, oh, I thought he picked up a weapon. Yes, he did, sorry. Before he moved, he attacked. So again, we used the fact that you can do any of your actions before you decide to move, or in the middle of your movement, or at the end of your movement. So before he moved anywhere, he did an action of searching for a weapon. He ended up finding a rock, which gave him a +1. So he had a rock and a tire iron. So he decided to use the once per game ability of a 2-weapon attack, where you can add the strength of 2 weapons in one attack sequence. Include strength only once if needed. D6 rolled once and added to entire result. So that's what he did. He had a tire iron that gave him an addition of 2, and he had a rock that gave him an addition of 1, and he ended up doing pretty well against, who was this? This is Torch, is this character's name. He ended up doing 2 hits of damage to Torch with his roll, because he rolled a 6 right off the hop, which was pretty fantastic, and Torch had a shitty roll. So again, I'm sort of keeping it because the Raiders are so strong. I'm kind of playing it in a little more favor of the campers. So he used, for example, he used his weapon that only gave him an addition of 3 as opposed to an addition of 5. I didn't take it off his will to live, or his will to kill rather. I just took 1 each off of his speed and strength to give our campers a tiny bit more of an edge, because I think these 2 characters are probably doomed. Which leads us to Dawn. She went last, but I'll explain what she did. She didn't have much hope of anything. She's only able now to move 1 hex in her poor fucking state. Poor girl. So she moved her 1 hex. My intention is that when she gets attacked, she's going to use her special ability, which is going to be Declare Hide, which is immediately when found or before attack, declare hide, move to adjacent space and hide, which we'll get to try out that hide function on both of these characters, because that's my intention for Randy as well. After he attacked, he moved to the trees where he's gonna hide, so I'm going to attempt to read through those rules and see how this hide play works out in this situation. Now, what happened to our girl Ginger? Ginger decided, fuck it, I'm getting the hell out of here. She did her once per game camper ability, which was a +5 to adrenaline. Add up to 5 stats to either speed or strength or combo until end of turn. She used all 5 towards speed. Her speed is 4, so that gave her a 9, which got her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where she hit a closed window. You do a roll to see for windows. She ended up getting, I think it was a 5, and I'm just realizing I didn't do part of this yet. So the O means that it's now open. The D means that she has to do a roll on the damage table, which she didn't do yet, so we'll do that. I'll do that in a moment. But basically it opened the window, so I put this token here, which is a door window. I think that's what I use for it. So it just shows me that now it is a door or a window that's open. So now if by any chance Randy makes it, he can go in through that same doorway or this one here. So then she moved 1 more space. Your once per game abilities don't count as an action. So once she got into that space, she did a search for weapons, and twice in a row she's been extremely lucky, and she found 2 weapons by rolling a 6. She ended up finding a revolver, which is going to give her a 6 addition if she's in the same hex. These she gets to keep with her the whole time. Each character can only hold 3 weapons at a time, so that's how many she has. The other one she found was a chain, which only gives her a 2 or a 1. I have a feeling the revolver is going to come in pretty handy, especially if she wants to attack from a range. She can now attack from 4 hexes away, which is great, because none of these characters have the ability to attack with their weapons from 4 hexes away. So it gives her a tiny bit of a jump. Actually, come to think of it, most of the characters don't have the ability to use a weapon from 3 hexes away. Only Torchy does with his flamethrower. So she could even use it in that and get an addition of 3 and maybe take out one of these bastards from a bit of a distance. Again, you use your whole movement, so it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It ended up with her in the next room, but because she already used an action to search, she wasn't able to search this room for more weapons. So she stays there now to her next turn. And then the last thing that I decided to do with her was screaming is also not considered an action, so I decided to have her scream because she's 1 hex away from the mechanic. So she screamed and it was successful. He heard her. So then what I did was, this was the time where we were going to randomize whether or not the townsfolk were good or evil. So the first thing that I did was I rolled 1 dice to see how many times I was going to be able to do that, and it came up as a 2. So I made a note of it on the sheet over there, just in the margin. So for the first 2 people that she or Randy or whoever come in contact with, I was going to do a roll to see if they're good or evil. They become sinister if you roll a 6. Any other number, they're just townsfolk and they're on your side. It turned out to be not a 6. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't a 6. So the mechanic is a good guy. The mechanic is now on our team. He'll start his movement next time we come in to play the campers. So Ginger is doing pretty fucking good here. She managed to really make some headway and at least stands a pretty good fighting chance to kill some of these guys and possibly even escape. She's creeping up on... Oh no, she's about halfway up the board now, considering they started way back here. She's made it a fair distance. There's only that piece to go there. But anything could happen. We're just about to move into the movement phase for our Psycho Raiders. So we'll see what happens, and I'll come back and let you know.